Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to another speed build. So this is the much anticipated, I know, apartment that I did for Peppermint, which was my last video, which was a create a sim. And this was very hard for so many reasons. One, I'm not the biggest fan of the color red, and there was a lot of red in this apartment. So I was just like, every time I put something down, I was like, no, I hate this. But at the same time, I was like, no, this is the aesthetic of this apartment. So there was a struggle there. So I don't even know if this apartment looks good, to be honest, because I just don't like red. But maybe if you like red, you'll like it. But also, I do like it at the same time, just because if I take it and look at it as a kind of tacky Christmas-themed apartment, or an apartment that belongs to the living embodiment of a piece of peppermint candy, which lets me take it a little less seriously, then I like it a lot more. Another thing that made it hard was that I don't really like building in apartments as much in The Sims 4, or I guess in general, just because it's just so restricting. And like, for instance, this apartment, I bulldozed the whole thing and was originally just gonna like completely redo it, and then in the end, just because of the shape of the apartment, and I'm only building it for one sim, it kind of ended up being the exact same. I don't even think kind of. It basically ended up being the same exact layout as the way the apartment was, just as EA built it, which kind of made me a little cheesed, but what can you do? So I guess this would end up, it's more of a renovation than an actual build, because even though I bulldozed the lot, it ends up being very, very similar. And obviously you can't change the windows or anything in an apartment. So would any apartment build be a build, or is it always a renovation? These are the real questions. You can see that I changed the color of the walls about 1,000,000 times. Because, again, I just don't like red, and I was like, no, this is obnoxious, this is too much. Also, I really wanted to do a tile, like, backsplash in the kitchen, but the tile backsplash that I wanted, I didn't want the whole wall to be tile, and then all the ones I liked were like, here's tile, and then it would go white straight up and would look very odd against the red, so I ended up using this, I think it's kind of a wood pattern type thing from Spa Day. I don't know. But I kind of settled for that, and I do like it. I wanted to do the exposed brick for a bit, too, because I do like doing exposed brick in apartments. But it just didn't, I don't know, the apartment already felt so dark for me with all the red, and I was like, we can't do brick. Another thing about this apartment is that since it's supposed to be very Christmassy, I do think that if you played with it on your own, not keeping in mind that it's made, unless you're playing with a Christmas themed sim that's Christmassy all year round, this apartment would, I think, playing with it, you would change it. Because, this is me checking to see if I was actually completely replicating the layout, which I was. So, yeah. But anyway, like I put the Christmas tree in kind of that alcove, and if you're playing with a sim and you downloaded this to start playing now during Christmas time, you want a Christmas theme, but then later you want to take down all the Christmas decorations and rearrange the living room, kind of how you would in real life, then this apartment would kind of take on a different shape a little bit. I don't know. So there is that to kind of change the overall feel of the apartment. Also, another thing, and this is another thing that kind of, for me, was the realism of rearranging a house or an apartment for Christmas. I brought the living room's kind of in 3 sections. There's the main kind of living area section. You have couch, a love seat, the fireplace, and the TV. And then there's the Christmas tree with some chairs that are kind of like those extra chairs you just kind of find places to put. And then there is this area under that other window that ends up being the dining area, because I didn't want to put the dining stuff in the kitchen, because 1, the kitchen's small, and 2, then it really would have been almost the same exact apartment layout, and that was driving me insane. So I could kind of picture, like, you take the Christmas tree out, and then the table that ends up under the window, you put that in the alcove, and then by that time, by that time. When you do that, then you'll have 4 chairs, those 2 seating little cushiony chairs and the 2 dining chairs. Can you use those cushiony chairs as dining chairs? I don't know, but you have 4 chairs, so even if they can't sit in them, you can set them up there. And then you have your dining area in the alcove. You push the couch back, and then your living area opens up. Just that kind of thing. I also played with the idea of having the dining area in the kitchen and the area under the window as a small kind of study with a desk. I also played with having a desk in the bedroom, but I think I was just having residual I don't know why I couldn't say that just now. Residual regret or something from not putting a study or any bookshelves in my last build. So that might have just been that. I did put a bookshelf in this build though. Peppermint can read, and she will be reading, I guess. But also the bedroom drove me insane because I did not at all want a red bed. I just couldn't do it. I was like, there's too much red already. It's burning my eyeballs. I don't want a red bed. And so I was going to use that white bed, and it just didn't work out. And honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of most of the double beds in The Sims 4. Either the shape just gets to me, or they don't have enough colors for me. Like, I can use them, and obviously I do use them. But sometimes with like very specifically themed builds like this one, I just don't feel like any of the beds match up. So I end up using the canopy bed, and that's kind of where I drag in some other color because it ends up being the one with the purple comforter or whatever. So I don't know. That makes it a little better. Also, this dresser, oh my goodness. So I've used this dresser 1.5 million times, but I have not used every color swatch for it. And so I did not realize there was a white dresser with brown drawers that kind of have this geometric patterned engraving type decoration on them. And I am in love with that dresser. That's what I end up using in this build. And I don't know how I hadn't noticed it before, but it makes my day. Oh, the build is also, I try to keep it super simple because, again, I was trying to do a build on a budget and I failed. I did fail. But like my last build on a budget, which was for Vivian for the Witch in the City challenge, I did end up on the lower end of how much my build usually costs. So it's kind of a win and a lose. It's not a build. I don't think you could buy it like jumping in the game with your 20,000 or whatever simoleons, depending on the size of your household. But I do think it is a reasonably priced second home, if that makes sense. Like, you move your sim into a cheaper place, then later they make money, they advance in their career, they collect things and sell them, all that good stuff that you do when you play with your sims. You know what I'm talking about. Then you move to a better, I guess, apartment in this case with a little bit more of a price range. And so I think it ends up being in the 30,000 simoleon range, which that's what it says in the gallery, which I don't think counts the lot price, but I'm not sure. So it's either, I think it's 33,000 simoleons, but it might be a little more if that doesn't count the lot price. Like, if you bulldoze a lot, it still costs like 2,000 simoleons or something. So I'm not sure. You never know. Also, I try to keep the decor minimum. And another thing about the decor is that in the speed build part of this video, you're not going to see me put up any Christmas decorations other than the tree, because I was already not feeling the red, and then all the Christmas decorations were making me just feel disgusted with the build. But after I stopped recording, I regretted it, and so I went back and I do add Christmas lights and some of the snowflakes and put a wreath on the door and all that good stuff. So you will see that in the screenshots. Never fear, I'm not qualifying Christmas as just putting up a Christmas tree. But I mean, if that's all you do, that's fine. Float your boat. Whatever floats your boat, I mean. Oh my gosh, I am delirious. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. The red does get to me. I did kind of try to keep this build very city themed, if that makes any sense. Not pretty modern, but not modern to a fault, because at some point you cross into too far crosh. Did I just say crosh? What is a crosh? You cross too far into modern and then it just looks like empty and expensive almost. And I wanted this to look like a place that someone would actually live. So it's modern-ish is what we'll call it, modern-ish. But it's also, I don't know, I'd still like doing builds that, I like throwing in a lot of clutter, but at the same time, I also like doing builds that aren't so super, like, I don't want the build to tell your sim story. I want your sim to give the build life, if that makes any sense. So there's not a super ton going on in this house. Like, I put clutter in there. There's plants. I love to put plants everywhere. But I didn't kind of dictate how you have to live in this apartment, if that makes sense. It might not make sense. To be honest, I'm not even sure anything I'm saying is making sense right now. But there is that. The build's coming to an end. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I love to talk to you people. You guys are lovely. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.